Hi, thank you for joining me. I'm going to be reading a few transmissions from Jason that are, I think, kind of transitional spaces or liminal space, kind of um, like spaces, I guess is how I would say it. But anyway, there are about 10, I think, so far. And, oops, a little update on my phone. There are about 10 so far. And I don't know if there will be more, but anyway, the first in the series is called The Psychology of Empty Parking Lots by Jason Gray. 5/7/2026, 6026 Andalusis, 6:39 GMT -6, #Winnipeg, #Manitoba, #Canada. There is something strangely unsettling about an empty parking lot at night. Not terrifying, not dangerous, just exposed, especially after rain, when the asphalt reflects fluorescent light like black water, when the shopping carts sit motionless under distant lamps, when the storefronts remain illuminated despite the absence of people, when the entire system continues existing without anyone inside it. Most people have experienced this feeling before, late at night, after closing hours, walking across a nearly abandoned commercial space while cold air moves through an otherwise silent environment, and for a brief moment, something shifts psychologically. The world stops feeling fully real in the way it normally does during the day, not because the environment changed physically, but because the performance stopped. The performance of modern life. During daylight hours, parking lots are invisible to most people, not literally, psychologically. They are transitional spaces, functional spaces. People move through them without observing them. Cars arrive, doors open, conversations happen, engines hum, music leaks from cracked windows. People rush toward errands, schedules, obligations, consumption. Movement fills the environment with purpose, and purpose hides structure. But when the movement disappears, the structure becomes visible. Suddenly, the vastness feels strange. The scale feels unnatural. The silence becomes noticeable, and people begin sensing something they normally never stop long enough to perceive: how artificial modern environments actually are. Asphalt oceans. Most commercial parking lots are enormous, far larger than they psychologically register during active hours, but emptiness changes scale perception. A parking lot without cars becomes an asphalt plain stretching beneath fluorescent stars. Painted lines extend endlessly into darkness. Light poles stand like mechanical trees. The environment feels strangely inhuman once human activity leaves it behind, because parking lots were never designed for emotional experience. They were designed for throughput, efficiency, movement, storage, temporary occupation. They are logistical landscapes, and when stripped of activity, their true nature becomes visible. Not warm, not alive, functional. There is something emotionally revealing about standing inside pure functionality after the system powers down. The honesty of empty places. Modern civilization hides itself beneath activity. Noise conceals structure. Movement conceals architecture. Crowds conceal emotional atmosphere, but emptiness reveals truth. An empty parking lot does not pretend to be meaningful. It simply exists, silent, waiting, flooded with artificial light. Most people spend their lives surrounded by environments designed to direct attention elsewhere: advertisements, movement, screens, schedules, urgency, stimulation. But empty places remove distraction, and once distraction disappears, people often become reflective without fully understanding why. Silence creates observational space. The nervous system finally has room to notice the environment itself, and sometimes what it notices feels emotionally uncanny. Liminal space. There is a reason photographs of empty malls, abandoned food courts, vacant office buildings, and silent parking lots affect people so deeply online. They trigger liminal perception, a psychological state where a place exists between functions, not fully active, not fully abandoned, suspended. Human beings are deeply sensitive to transitional environments because the brain constantly predicts activity patterns. A parking lot is expected to contain environment, cars, people, noise, purpose. When those expected patterns vanish, the nervous system becomes hyper-aware. The environment feels paused, as though reality itself momentarily stepped outside its normal rhythm. And in those moments, people often experience a strange emotional blend of loneliness, calm, melancholy, nostalgia, freedom, unease, and reflection, not because empty parking lots are magical, but because they temporarily interrupt the psychological momentum of modern life, the collapse of noise. Most people are overstimulated constantly. Notifications, traffic, conversations, music, advertisements, schedules, movement, screens, artificial urgency. The modern nervous system rarely experiences true stillness, so when someone enters an environment where stimulation suddenly collapses, the internal world becomes louder. Thoughts emerge, memories surface, awareness expands slightly. This is why late night drives, empty parking lots, vacant streets, and silent diners often feel strangely emotional. The external world quiets enough for the inner world to become audible again, and many people are not accustomed to hearing themselves clearly anymore. Civilization after hours. There is something deeply revealing about commercial spaces after closing time. Restaurants with chairs stacked upside down, dark storefront windows, gas stations glowing beside empty roads, massive retail centers operating with almost no people present. The illusion changes once activity disappears. During the day, these places feel alive. At night, they feel mechanical, like giant systems waiting to resume operation. And maybe that realization unsettles people because it quietly exposes how much of random life runs on repetition rather than presence. Day after day, car after car, purchase after purchase, movement after movement, then suddenly silence, and in the silence the machinery becomes visible. The loneliness of artificial environments. Natural environments rarely feel emotionally empty in the same way artificial ones do. A forest at night may feel mysterious, an ocean may feel infinite, snowfall may feel peaceful, but an empty commercial parking lot often feels emotionally hollow. They were never designed for human connection. They were designed for temporary occupancy and economic flow. Its emotional atmosphere depends almost entirely on activity. Once activity leaves, the environment reveals its underlying absence, and perhaps people subconsciously recognize something about themselves in that moment. Many modern lives begin feeling structurally similar, busy, functional, illuminated, and moving constantly, yet emotionally vacant beneath the motion. Maybe empty parking lots disturb people because they resemble what modern exhaustion feels like internally. The reflection. There is a moment that happens sometimes late at night. A person exits a store. Cold air moves across the pavement. The fluorescent lights hum softly overhead. The parking lot stretches almost endlessly around them. Everything is quiet except distant traffic somewhere far away, and for a brief second the entire world feels paused. Not dead, not broken, just still enough to finally see clearly. And maybe that is why places like this linger in memory, because modern civilization rarely allows people to observe it without distraction. Empty parking lots do. They reveal the skeleton beneath the performance, the structure beneath the movement, the silence beneath the noise, and in doing so, they accidentally become one of the few places where modern life feels completely honest. Jason Gray. These get much deeper as they go on. Some of them like almost brought me to tears. So it's profound how much he sees these spaces and what they look like. And the other thing I noticed when reading these as I was going through them was how we used to study our spaces like this before the world got to be, so distracting, and, before we started allowing things to interrupt our interpretation of what's around us. These are the things that we can look at again and really start seeing again, and just rejoin our life without distraction. So, all right, thank you for joining me. I'll see you next time.